Hey guys, welcome to the Magfed Ranch paintball channel, and today I'm going to be doing a versus video. But before I get into it guys, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, share, and comment. Alright, let's get into it guys. So the topic of today's versus video is going to be in buttstock air tank setups versus Air-Thru buttstock setups. Okay guys? So obviously going over the different pros and cons, maybe what, in terms of your build, your purpose, your mission purpose build, the type of event, all the different like scenario situations that might call on for this setup versus this setup, okay guys? And so real quick, the Air-Thru buttstock setup option I have on my original 468 here, and the in buttstock air tank setup using a 10 CI air tank is on our MR18 Mod 1 marker here, okay guys? Now, let's go over the in buttstock air tank setup real quick, okay guys? Let's go over some of the pros real quick. So one of the pros I really like about this setup is the fact that it's just detached, right? It's everything is just housed within the marker. You know, there's no airline that you need to attach to a remote tank for you to be able to feed, have to feed the marker with air. So everything is just in its own, right, self-independent package. Okay, guys? The other cool thing, too, is that it does kind of like, obviously kind of just meet the kind of the minimal requirements in terms of like the length of pole on the buttstock. Especially if you use the 10 CI tank. With the 13 CI tank, and that's the other cool thing as well too, you can use both a 10 CI tank or a 13 CI tank in this setup. Technically, I think you could even use the longer 17 CI tank. It's just that as the tanks get bigger, guys, the length of the tank gets longer. And so with the length of pole adjustment, and I believe it's 10 different adjustment points that you have, at the lowest setting, the tank will stick out a little bit, okay? But with the 10 CI tank, you have a very compact, very just, like I said, all built in together setup, okay? The other thing too I like is that it's, it's light, it's efficient. You're not having to carry an extra tank on your loadout, so everything is just on the marker, and with the marker set up correctly, the weight of the marker is going to be very similar to what the real steel rifle will weigh, with all its accessories on it as well too guys. I do like the little bit added realism in terms of the gameplay, right? Because like I said, once again, you don't have this airline attached to your body or having to carry another tank on your vest or your rig, okay? Let's talk about some of the cons real quick. So, of course, the obvious con is that you're limited on how much air you have in this tank, right? So with 10 CI, I'll shoot a video for you guys, but obviously with a 10 CI tank, you should be able to go through, 6 or 7 mags, no problem, if that is your standard loadout. But if you start going up to like, extra mags, maybe we're talking double-digit mag capacity, then it probably won't be able to, fire through all those magazines. Now, don't get me wrong, the T15 is super highly efficient. I think there's a video out there of someone testing what these air tanks will fire. But once again, like I said, you just will have a limited supply of air to be able to shoot, as many mags as you want. Also, of course, because the markers, typically whether it's a T15 or an M17 or most other markers, they require a minimum output of air pressure to, function correctly. Not to say that they won't function, but if it has a lower air output, your velocity might not shoot as fast. The marker might not cycle if it starts getting really low in the air tank. Okay, guys? And so just having obviously a remote line with a bigger air tank will obviously give you a little bit more air capacity. Okay, The other, I guess, sometimes drawback some people don't like too is this guide rod here that you have to use with the in buttstock tank feature. Now, there are other setups where it's just a sticker that has the guide rod built into it, and you just literally stick the sticker onto the tank. But once again, there has to be, like I said, some type of rod that the buttstock is going to obviously slide on. And so this can be just an extra part that might come loose. You might have to fiddle with it. Now obviously, like on our markers, you know, we obviously Loctite it down, thread paste it so that way they don't come loose. There's really no reason for you to take it off unless for whatever reason you want to switch the air tank to another marker. Maybe you just want to replace the O-rings because of over time. Of course, you know, there might be a certain time frame where you're going to have to, you know, maybe replace the regulator or maybe just service it as well. And so just, you know, having this setup, like you're going to have to obviously, the downside is having to disassemble everything to take it apart. Okay, guys? But like I said, I really like this setup a lot just because, like I said, it's all in place. Everything's on the marker. Okay. Now, another drawback with this setup is, once again, we talked about how the buttstock is going to be a little bit thicker. If you notice it here, compared side by side with just kind of your standard buttstock, right? What a real AR buttstock profile would be. You'll notice that it's a lot slimmer than the in-tank setup. And what that's going to do is going to obviously mess with your line of sight on your optic, right? So as you can see here, when we have to wear our goggles and you have to put your cheek up against the goggle, right? I'm sorry, against the buttstock, the added thickness of your goggles, and of course now the added thickness of the buttstock is going to make your head sit up higher, right? Or you're going to have to obviously tilt your head inwards more if the line of sight is lower. That's why we always recommend using some type of riser on your guys' markers with the Magfed paintball markers because of this reason, okay, guys? And that's why we always recommend to you guys to use the FS adjustable riser, and then of course with some type of mounting optics where it's going to be at least 2.5 to 3 inches above the receiver, okay, guys? So let me show you guys real quick. With this setup, you don't have to, because it's high enough, I don't have to cock my head over to be able to see that dot. I can see that dot, no problem, with my head straight up and down. Like I can see the dot right now, guys. It's right in the center of the red dot. My head isn't having to cock all the way over or really trying to press my cheek into the marker to work. But like I said, the downside is that you're gonna have to use the riser and, you know, get it higher than what a normal marker or rifle would be able to be set at. Okay, that's why when you guys see a lot of videos or a lot of photos of Magfed players online that don't use the risers, you'll notice that their head is like cocked way over because they won't be able to see the reticle or the dot. Okay. So that's kind of another con with the buttstock option. Okay, guys. Let's go over to the Air-Thru stock now. So the Air-Thru stock, what it is guys, is the buffer tube, like that, you know, what that would be called on a normal rifle. The buffer tube is now in essence, the tube at which the air is going to go into the marker to feed. And so you'll notice here that it has a nozzle at the end. It could be a quick disconnect, or it could be obviously a push button connect, right, guys? But in essence, now you just have the air flowing from your remote air tank to a line, right? And then the line connects here to a fitting that feeds the marker now, just through this buffer tube replacement, okay? And then of course, any AR buttstock is going to fit on this buffer tube now. So that is kind of one of the cool things, guys. You can pretty much use any buffer tube. I believe it's a mil-spec buffer tube. So it's pretty much any stock that would fit any AR mil-spec buffer tube. You can use it on the Air-Thru stock. And so now you have like as many options as there are out there to change the stock look and design and style that you like, okay? Versus the in-tank buttstock, we're limited to whatever the Magfed paintball marker companies make, and unfortunately it's not as extensive as, of course, the real steel stuff, okay guys? Of course, the main benefit, besides some other benefits, is now you have whatever tank size you want to use, right? So I played previously with the 4500, a 68 CI tank, 4500 PSIs, right? So 68 CI cubic inches versus 10, 13, or 17, you pretty much aren't really worried about wasting air anytime soon. Especially with Magfed paintball, if you're not going to be shooting as many rounds as like a hopper marker, you don't have to really worry about refilling your air. Okay, guys? So the air supply is not an issue. You could run, obviously, with way more mags. If somehow you could carry, 20-something mags on your loadout, you could do that. And you wouldn't have to worry about airing, with any air issues, firing all 20 mags, okay? And then, of course, if you were playing just kind of normal paintball or you're not shooting first strikes and you wanted to play with any of the box magazines that are out there, right? The 50 or 100 or more round capacity box mags, to simulate a saw setup. Obviously, a remote Air-Thru stock setup would be the more ideal setup to be able to shoot all those rounds. Okay, guys? An added benefit, besides those two things as well, is the fact now that because the buttstock is slimmer compared to the in-tank setup, your cheek won't sit as high when you're using safety goggles. Okay, so for example, I have iron sights here that would be pretty much useless with an in-tank setup, guys. Like, there's no way I'm going to get my eyes to line up with the in-tank buttstock using iron sights. But with this setup, I can get it to work, even though it's not ideal. I have to literally hold the marker kind of at a sideways angle like this, and a lot higher, but now I can at least line up my iron sights and use my iron sights if that was all you had, right? Let's say for whatever example, you set up your first Magfed marker. You obviously don't have the budget yet to, to add a riser, add an optic to your marker. You obviously still have a decent low profile safety goggles where it's not so, obviously bulky. You can get it to work with your iron sights. You just have to make sure you kind of like position it correctly. Now, is this the best shooting position? Not really, but obviously the paintball marker doesn't have as much kick as a real steel rifle, and so you still can fire your marker this way without having to worry about the handling the recoil, right? And then also you can actually use your sights now, your iron sights, especially if you've zeroed it in, like I've showed you guys on other videos, right? How to zero your marker in using backup iron sights with first strike rounds. Now you can shoot first strike rounds using your iron sights without having to, get a riser and get an optic. So there is kind of an added benefit as that as well too. Cost, cost is going to be roughly the same. Now, because obviously when you start thinking about cost, this setup actually might end up costing a little bit more, because this alone doesn't get you air into the marker, right? So you obviously have to buy the buffer tube, Air-Thru tube, which is going to be more affordable than the tank, but you're still going to have to buy some type of tank. You're going to have to buy some type of pouch that's going to, obviously attach to your chest rig or through your molly to be able to carry on your body. And then, of course, you're going to need the tube, right, the hose, the remote line, with the fitting, too, to attach it to the fitting on the buffer tube. right? And so once you start adding up all those components, this setup is going to be more expensive than this setup. So that's going to be the first con of the setup, is just the cost, okay? The second con, of course, too, is that there are just kind of be more things that can go wrong. Even if you maintain your equipment as well as I do, the nozzle can fail. It could leak or maybe not seal anymore. The hose can leak or fail, right? The fitting on the air tank, right? Because on the air tank, you're going to need that hose attachment on and off valve as well too, right? It's an on and off shut valve on your air tank, and that can fail. So you're adding more just components to the system that could potentially fail, and eventually it will fail, guys, right? It's like anything that's has O-rings or serviceable items, right? Consumable items in it is going to fail, and then you're going to need to either replace it, take it apart and reseal it, those type of things, okay? The other thing too is the way it attaches to the marker. It just threads onto the marker, guys, and then it has kind of this locking ring that will lock it in place once you have it where the position you want it. So for example, if I try to screw it all the way down, this is where it stops. So to get it to the ideal position, I have to obviously set it on the marker to the correct alignment, and then use this locking ring right here to lock it into place. But of course, as you guys can see, I mean, unless you Loctite that down, unless you tighten it down really, really tight, which, like I said, you should be able to. There's no reason for you to take this off unless you need to start servicing the marker. But it's just another thing, if you're banging around, playing rough on the field, it's another thing that can come loose and, of course, can get out of alignment. Also, depending on the marker, for example, like I was telling you with this 468, the velocity adjustment is right here, right? You have to remove this thing and unscrew this thing to get to the velocity adjustment. And so as you guys can see, this in-tank Air-Thru stock is in the way. So with certain markers, this might be a problem. Now with other markers, that's not going to be the case, but you just have to know which platform that you're installing these air system components on, right? So if you have like a 468, that's going to get in the way of its velocity adjustment if you need to make velocity adjustments, okay? One of the other cons is the weight. Now, granted, with the weight of the marker, it's going to be a little bit lighter, right? Because now you're not having the tank weighing the marker down. Okay, so it does lead to an overall lighter package with the marker. But in terms of your overall loadout, right? Now you're adding the line to it, and you're adding whatever big tank you're carrying on your back. Okay, so once again, it's just adding more to what you're having to carry on your body. And there's gonna be a lot of you guys out there is like, oh my God, that's not a big deal, but there's a reason why, our military is always finding ways to try to save weight, right? Because they have this saying, right? Ounces equal pounds, and then pounds equal pain, right? So they're always trying to find ways to lighten up their gear a little bit more, which, like I said, it's going to make you more efficient, faster, obviously be able to play longer out in the field instead of tiring out. Okay, guys? So that is one of the cons of having this increased weight, with the benefit, of course, of having your marker slightly lighter. Not by much, but still slightly lighter. Okay. What else? I mean, the other con. The other con I didn't like sometimes too, and this doesn't happen all the time, guys. But for example, if you are, let's say, a sniper position or a DMM position, where you're not shooting that many rounds, right? So you don't need that much air capacity to shoot this many rounds, but now you have this hose that's attached to your body and attached on your gear. And with those rolls, sometimes you have to go through the thick of the field, right? Maybe you're crawling through a bushy, grassy area. Maybe you're crawling through, obviously, the woods, and so you have that hose and that potentially snagging on branches, snagging on gears. And I've had that happen to me out in the field. And so things like that, or let's say you're diving and you're having to jump into a bunker, into a ditch, and then that hose catches onto the edge of the bunker, or edge of the whatever barricade that you're sliding behind. And so I've had that happen as well too. So there's just this potential for more stuff to snag and go wrong. Okay. Now, one of the benefits, of course, too, is that with that extra air capacity, for let's say an example like the marker, like the M17, where the air deficiency is an issue, that would kind of cure the air deficiency for a longer event, right? So for a long event where you're playing hours on end, maybe you're playing the whole day, and the field that you're playing, the scenario that you're playing at is like this huge field that you don't have refill stations to go to, so that way you don't have to walk back all the way to the beginning of the field to air up. The remote line with tank setup might be better, because now you have all this air you can play with all day without having to refill. Okay, guys. So to end this video, let's just say like kind of where you would want to play. If I was using the Air-Thru tank setup, it would probably be for one, a saw gunner type position where you're playing the box mag, right, or playing like the big hopper position, right. The other one would be if I'm playing for a long scenario event, an event where it's going to be a long time, where I might need the air. I don't want to have to like continually going back and forth to go get aired up. I can just play all day without having to worry to air up. Okay. Another obviously situation or build would be if I'm planning to shoot a lot of magazines. Let's say I am the DMM, right? I'm the designated marksman on my team, and one of my roles is I have to shoot a lot of rounds to allow my assaulter team to move. And so instead of just carrying 7 magazines, I'm carrying 15. I'm carrying multiple double-digit magazines. And so not having to worry about the air possibly losing out with a buttstock setup, just use the remote line with the tank, and that that pretty much solves all your air setups. And then of course as well, if you don't have an optic, right, or if you're not planning to run an optic that sits really high on your marker, you can use this setup and have a little bit lower profile, so that way you can mount your optic lower, and or even use the iron sights if you need to. Okay. Now with the buttstock option, this would be the option I would be playing if like I just wanted a very fast, assaulter type build. It's just one round of gameplay, right? We're not talking about a whole day event where I'm having to worry about like going out in the field and then, oh my God, I'm so far out that I don't want to come all the way back to lose air, right? It's just super, just portable, user friendly. I don't have to worry about anything snagging, anything catching on anything. Especially if I'm like let's say in a DM position or a sniper position where I know the mission isn't going to require me to shoot that many rounds, and so I don't have to carry all this extra air around and weigh myself down with all this extra gear. This will be a good setup because I can easily shoot 5 to 7 magazines, no problem, throughout the day, and not have to worry about carrying anything extra. Okay. And then plus, like I said, if you just like having just a marker that's just complete, not having to worry about anything else attached to it, it's just, hey, it's like picking up a real rifle, right? It's like about as real as it gets. Like everything is just, in its own package, ready to use. That would be the way to go, guys. Okay, guys? So, guys, that's the difference between an Air-Thru tank setup and an buttstock tank setup, guys. If you guys like that video, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.